been a little while since I featured a Tissot here on my channel. I have one today, and it's their reissue of the Visodate. They've made this a few different times in a few different iterations. This is really their latest and greatest. It looks a lot more sophisticated with tons of details. Like I said, I have one hands-on, so let's flip the camera and take a look at the latest Visodate from Tissot. It's been a little while since I featured a Tissot here on my channel, and back in the day when I first started my channel, Tissot were one of the watches that kind of inspired me to make videos because I really found that they were offering really good watches for the money. Specifically, the C-Star 1000 was one of the first watches, affordable watches that I purchased back when I started collecting affordable watches. This is the Visodate, which was a watch that was a re-release from the 1950s, and the original re-release of this watch was more Art Deco inspired, I would say, and now they've made something that's a little bit more of a classic design. It has a little bit more of a complicated design as well. This is thin also. I'm actually pretty surprised at how thin this is, and it does get a Powermatic 80. This gets a sapphire crystal that is boxed and domed, very vintage inspired. They even used the vintage Tissot logo. You have a brushed dial that has sort of a sunburst effect. However, it's separated into two different portions. So you have a chapter ring, which is a 60-minute track and minute track. Right inside of that, you have applied indices. That is sitting on what almost looks like a slightly domed dial. Now, I'm not sure if that's a visual effect, but I think it is slightly domed. And then there's two different finishings on the dial. There's a circular graining to it, or a circular brushing to it, that is on the outer portion of the dial, and in the center there's a vertical brushing to the dial. You have fence post hands, there's a little bit of lume in those, you have a needle seconds hand, and then you have the date. And that's the reason why it's called the Visodate, because you have the date on here, and this was one of the first Tissot to feature a date complication. So that's why it's called the Visodate. And you have that at the 3 o'clock. It's a little bit of a trapezoid shape. I like what they've done with this dial. It does look very different from the previous version, but overall there's a very big step up in quality and fit, finish, and overall look. The design is a little bit more gelled, I would say. You also have a beads of rice bracelet on here. You have a flat bezel, and the bezel is very thin. Not only the top down, but on the side as well. And I think that's part of the reason why this is so thin. It looks so thin, and it feels thin in hand. For a dress watch, obviously, that's a good thing. So you have a very thin bezel that is polished. So the top is polished and the sides. The top of the case has a brushing to it, and then there's a very thick line of polish that goes along the sides of the case. I will also say this is one of the better finished Tissots that I have featured here, or I've ever had in hand. So actually a very nice finish across the entire case. And then, like I said, you have a beads of rice bracelet. It is signed with the brand name. You have a double push button enclosure. It also gets quick release, which I haven't seen a Tissot in a while, so it's the first time I've seen a Tissot with quick release, so that could be something that they're doing on a regular basis now, but I don't know. And then you get to see the movement from the back. So you do get a mineral crystal on the back, sapphire crystal on the front, and it says Tissot on the rotor. It's slightly skeletonized. This is a Powermatic 80. That means you get 80 hours of power reserve, which is, of course, proprietary to Tissot. Technically, there are a few other brands that use it within the Swatch group. The watch measures in at 38.8 millimeters according to my calipers, 10.4 millimeters thick. That is including that boxed sapphire crystal. So this is actually a pretty thin watch, considering that you're getting, of course, a Powermatic 80 inside. You do only get 50 meters of water resistance. You have a push-pull crown. It's a really nice crown too. Take a look at that. I like the shape of the crown. I like all the little details on this watch. And then you have a lug-to-lug of around 45.7 millimeters. It's 49.3 millimeters if you include the male end links on the beads of rice bracelet. On my wrist today, I have my latest purchase. This is the SLA 079 from Seiko. It is their higher end Seiko with an 8L movement. I've always loved these watches, and this is probably I think one of the better looking versions of the SLA. It doesn't get any special dial. It's not a limited edition, but I think it's a really good looking watch. These are expensive, but you get very good quality with them. And there is the Tissot on my 7.5-inch wrist. Like I said, this is a 38.8 millimeter watch, so basically a 39 millimeter dress watch. It is thin, 10.4 millimeters thick. That is very, very good considering that it's getting the Powermatic 80. And then you have around a 49 millimeter lug to lug, just over 49 millimeters if you're including those male end links. Technically they are female end links, but they don't bend all the way down. So I would say they are essentially male end links, and then 45.7 if you wear it on a strap. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, and I think it fits my wrist really well. What do you think? Tell me down in the comments below. I wouldn't say that Lume has ever been a strong point for Tissot, and I wouldn't say this is a strong point of this watch either. There's just a little bit of Lume by each one of the indices, and then of course you have some Lume on the hands. They're not liberally applied. It's okay. It's not bad. For a dress watch, I don't think it's all that bad. You don't have any Lume on any working element or moving element in the dark, so you can't see that your watch is working in the dark. You know, that's always a pet peeve of mine. Other than that, I think it's a really great design. I like what they have done. I know some people will not be happy with this update. I think a lot of people will. They've made this a little bit more of a crowd pleaser. It was a very good looking watch previously, especially the automatic versions. I thought those were amazing. They made quartz versions as well, which I didn't think were as amazing, but the automatic versions I thought were very good looking. This is a little bit more of a complicated design. They've gone a little bit further with it and made it something very different from the previous version, and I like it. Price on this is $950. I think that's pretty good. You're getting a fully Swiss-made watch from the Swatch Group. It has a Powermatic 80, which is a very good movement, very reliable movement with 80 hours of power reserve. And overall, it's a really good looking dress watch. If it had 100 meters of water resistance, this would be a perfect everyday watch. This only has 50 meters of water resistance, I believe. 50 is what the number is. Unfortunately, you know, that's good for a dress watch, not for a sports watch. That's really it, guys. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Tell me what you think of this watch. Tell me what you think of the new design language that they're using for it. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. I'll add a link to this watch down in the description below. Definitely check it out if you are interested. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next video.